There was an interesting twist this week on the story of Stephanie McMahon taking a leave of absence from WWE. Back on May 19th, she announced on Twitter that as of tomorrow, I am taking a leave of absence from the majority of my responsibilities at WWE. WWE is a lifelong legacy for me, and I look forward to returning to the company that I love after taking this time to focus on my family. And you read that statement and you think, well, this woman has probably been through the ringer over the last several months. She almost lost her husband last year. Were it not for her intervening, Triple H said, were it not for Stephanie, he probably wouldn't be here right now. So it would be understandable if she wanted to take a step back and spend more time with her family. But it was still a very sudden announcement when she posted that tweet. And at a time when Triple H is back in the office now working full-time. Before he was back working kind of part-time. Now apparently he's back in the office working full-time. He doesn't have a lot of the same responsibilities that he used to have, but he's been back in the office. Now Stephanie announces that she's going to take a leave of absence. But then earlier this week, Claire Atkinson on the Business Insider website wrote a piece about WWE shaking up its leadership as it targets $100 million in sponsorship and brand revenue. They're trying to replicate the success that UFC has had in that same area. And all of a sudden, it makes things a little clearer about what may have really happened. The story describes her leave of absence as a move that was actually executed by Vince McMahon, her own father. And it notes that a lot of her responsibilities, the ones that she herself said that she would be stepping away from, include things like marketing and branding, and the company just hired a new EVP and head of marketing whose responsibilities sound identical to what Stephanie's old responsibilities were, which would seem to indicate that she doesn't have any plans on coming back anytime soon. And it noted that while Stephanie had previously described the potential of WWE's growth in sponsorship and marketing as being in the range of hundreds of millions of dollars in the next 3 to 5 years, that wasn't happening under her watch. And a company insider told the writer of the story here, we weren't seeing that growth. When someone is moved out of a company, it's usually the result of something not working. We took stronger control of that a few months ago. And the article pointed out something that Vince McMahon said when he was on Pat McAfee's show back in March, when he was talking about running a company with family members being in important roles, within the organization. He said, I've probably expected more from my family members than of our other employees. You have to do the right thing for the business. If this person isn't working out, they shouldn't be part of the company. He was pretty clear about that. And you got to hand it to the guy. He's ruthless when it comes to business. That's probably why he survived as long as he has. And he's not wrong. If you have somebody in a role and they're not performing, then they shouldn't have job security just because they're related by blood. They shouldn't be given preferential treatment just because of what their last name is. So it sounds like his daughter wasn't getting the job done, and he decided that she had to go. The leave of absence stuff sounds almost, at least partially, like a cover reason to let her save face on the way out. Except this article and other stories that have clearly been leaked by people within the company, they're doing the exact opposite. And they only serve to make Stephanie look bad. I mean, you read this, it makes her look like she's inept at her job and she was in over her head. It's the only takeaway from this. And for the people who, and I had 2 people say to me, I've never heard of this website before. As somebody who works in PR, I'm very much aware of Business Insider. And no, it's not some flunky, website. It's a legitimate news website. I've heard of them before. I've pitched them before. I mean, it's a legit news source. Not some ragtag unknown website. Where did this come from? Never heard of them before. Somebody in the company leaked this information to the writer, and that's where this story came from. This was something very deliberate on WWE's part. There's no other way to put it other than this is a very public burial of Stephanie McMahon, and that burial doesn't happen without her father knowing about it or approving it. Because these people would not be sticking their neck out like this on their own, running the risk of him finding out about it, and then they're gone. And if she really did want out, and it was at least partially her own decision, it sure sounds like the company isn't unhappy about her leaving. They sound like they were more than happy to give her that little extra push that she needed right out the door. Question is, why? Why would they bury her like this? She's Vince's daughter. She's been a key executive in the company for many years. She's been the face of the company for so long. She's always the one being invited to these conferences and these events representing WWE, one of the top women in business. She's won awards. What happened? Well, it appears that MLW's antitrust lawsuit against the company could have something to do with all of this. All of a sudden, the dots are being connected here. When MLW announced in January that it had filed an antitrust lawsuit against WWE, which I talked about at the time on the podcast, one of the key things that they alleged in the suit is that WWE perpetrated unlawful interference with MLW's business in order to minimize the level of competition the promotion presents to WWE. Now, you can read that and laugh out loud. The idea that WWE is, they stay up at night sweating bullets about the competition that they get from MLW, because MLW is obviously a lot smaller than WWE, and they don't have a major TV deal, and what would WWE have to worry about here? But this is WWE. I could absolutely believe that, look, you don't have to be the size of an AEW for WWE to try to fuck with you. We've heard stories like that about the company many, many times over the years. I put nothing past them. That's what they allege in the suit. And one example that MLW pointed to in that suit was its deal with Tubi, which is a streaming service. It's owned, at least partially owned, by Fox. We know WWE is in bed with Fox. It was a deal that was about to be announced publicly before all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it got canceled. This is the excerpt about it from the lawsuit. Prior to Tubi and MLW issuing the joint press release, WWE learned about the terms and existence of the license agreement. On or about August 9th, 2021, WWE executive Stephanie McMahon spoke with a Tubi executive located in California about the license agreement. Ms. McMahon initially pressured the Tubi executive to deny MLW a time slot that would compete head-to-head with WWE's NXT programs on Tuesday nights. But Ms. McMahon ultimately pressured the Tubi executive and other senior executives at Fox to terminate the agreement in its entirety. Tubi's affiliate, Fox, could lose WWE's business or preferred content if Tubi did not acquiesce to WWE's demand and terminate its agreement with MLW. On August 9th, 2021, the night before a planned press release about the Tubi MLW deal, as a result of WWE's pressure and interference, MLW received a letter purporting to terminate the license agreement. As if WWE would pull its own deal with Fox over an MLW show on Tubi. But with these things about her suddenly leaking out all of a sudden, it has people wondering if her involvement in all this and her name being brought up could have something to do with it. That she was reckless in the way that she handled this, if it did happen the way that MLW alleges. And it would be pretty stupid of them to allege something specific like this and name Stephanie unless they have actual proof. This could end up being a great source of embarrassment for the company. It could be a black eye for WWE. And if MLW has evidence to prove their claims, then yes, it would be embarrassing for WWE. Sean Ross Sapp on Twitter said that he had heard the same chatter about the MLW stuff, possibly being what may have done her in. Not that he was reporting anything, but that he had heard the same thing. She was directly named as the person who got that MLW deal squashed. I'm sure Vince McMahon must be thinking, my God, if you're going to do that, at least have the sense to make the call from a burner phone under a fake name or something. Like Pat Patterson telling Dr. Zahorian to call him back from a payphone so they could tip him off about the steroid investigation. What a year for the McMahon family. First, Vince gets rid of his son. Now he's kicking his daughter on her way out the door, throwing some dirt on her. Shane and Stephanie both out of WWE within months of each other. Triple H, who we all once thought would be the heir apparent to the throne, he sees his creation gutted and the team he put together almost completely dismantled. the idea of him taking over for Vince McMahon now is laughable. It seemed like a foregone conclusion many years ago. Now it's just comical. I don't think it would be good for his health anyway to even be in that chair. Why would he want it? And the one person who probably now holds more power in that company than any other single person outside of Vince McMahon is Nick Khan. Someone who less than 2 years ago, you and I wouldn't have been able to pick out of a lineup. Nick who? As the world turns. If they turn this into a soap opera, I would totally watch it.